Big Boy's
Big
neighborhood.
Boy.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood, man. We got Royce, the 5'9", in the neighborhood. Welcome back to the neighborhood, bro.
How's everybody doing?
Man, we doing good, man. If you bring your ass in here trying to dress better than us again,
Right?
it's gonna be a smooth. You think the rap battle that we had almost 10 years ago that I let loose on you remember that in my head,
Brother, this is my way of letting you guys know that it's an honor and a privilege for me to be here.
Damn,
You
but
guys
you know
need
what?
to know that I take this very serious.
Hey, man, let me tell you, though, Royce, it's an honor for real and a privilege to have you here, too. I feel bad that I didn't dress up for you. You know what I'm saying? Because
You're a
I noticed
legend.
when we slapped hands, yeah, legend, that is true.
It's nice.
Man, you're a legend, too,
Yeah.
though. But now, hey, man, I'm not going to bat away the compliments. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get too many of them. First off, we got to say, man, veteran, relevant at the same damn time. What keeps you so in love with this thing we call hip-hop, bro?
I mean, you know, the more time that goes by, the more time that you spend in the game, you start to realize what success means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to realize how subjective it is. And I just got to a place in life where it was like this, it's a self-defining place. I feel like everybody needs to define who they are. And once you get to that space, you figure out what inspires you.
And
You know what I mean?
everyone's journey is quite
Everybody's
different.
is different.
Yeah,
Because,
man.
You know, we come into it, we think that, you know, oh, okay, that's going to make me happy. That's going to make me happy. When this happens, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah,
and
man.
then that happens, and then it doesn't fix anything.
Yeah, it's almost like you continue to chase it.
Yeah.
You chase the high, then you realize, like, man, not that your legs are tired, but like, okay.
Artistically, that, not to cut you off.
You know,
brother.
go please.
Artistically, there's a destination that you need to get to. You need to get to that place, and then everything is cool. And then the journey becomes. You know,
When do you realize that is what you're really chasing after?
it's a continual thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially black men, we have spiritual awakenings.
Yeah, bro.
Many of them. I'm probably on my 7th one. You know, but my last one was really, really, it was really telling. You
Is
know what
that
I mean?
anything you can share, or is it more of something that you kind of hold dear to?
I just started to realize exactly what I needed to be happy. For me, I need to be
That's
able
crazy,
to create.
huh?
Yeah, I need to be able to create whenever I want to, however I want to. I need my own space, and I need peace.
And that's a hell of a place to arrive, because at one point, man, we think we want the world around us. We think we want, you know, there's a certain way that we got to create. We got to have the crew. We got to have this. We got to have that.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of tuition into the school of experience that some people don't get a chance to ride out to and arrive.
Yeah, because it's trial and error when you come into the game.
But and people don't want to learn that either. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to learn that either. What do you feel about artists today, man? And not knocking anyone, but that, you know, it's like now you just go, you know, you can become a YouTube sensation. There's Spotify, there's TikTok, there's
quick.
things that kind of push you through a little faster.
Yeah, and it's also being marketed to them
Right.
that this is the way.
Yeah.
And really, there's no formula. There's no formula. The best method is just to have as much information as possible. The more information you have, the longer you can last.
Do lyrics still matter?
They're gonna always matter.
Yeah.
They're gonna
It
always
depends
matter.
on who's asking and who's answering.
Well,
Yeah,
that
you know what I'm
too.
saying?
That too. But if we want to look at facts, the most important artists who make the most important music that lasts the longest amount of
longest.
time, which is the most important, last the longest amount of time, are the artists who
Say
have
something.
lyrics.
Yeah, man. How did you, and I know the stories, but how did you and Eminem, how does that relationship start?
It started. I met him at a show that I was doing in 1997. I was doing a show. I said a punchline on stage that he liked, and my manager introduced us, and we kind of just got cool since then. But I knew who he was before that. I was already a fan. I was already a local. He was already a local sensation amongst the hip hop crowd.
How does a 20-year friendship in this kind of industry last?
They don't always last.
Yeah.
They
hell
don't
no.
always last because I mean we had a good 5-10 year period where we didn't speak. You know what I mean? So it happens.
Was that hard?
It was difficult in the beginning, but I mean, you know, just you get over anything in this business.
And you don't shut yourself down like, man, I'm not going to speak for 10 years. But then you kind of looking like, damn, we ain't spoke
Yeah,
in X amount of years.
it depends on how dear the relationship is to you. But I also feel like that's another thing that you realize in time, how important it is to hold on to people
Yeah.
that are important to you, that really mean you well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also trying to find those people, find the ones that don't mean you well, check your own judge of character, get rid of said
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, bro.
and find your happiness.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, man, life is mathematics, bro. And some people just don't figure it out. I'm like, man, of course I want to add years to my life. You know what I'm saying? That's my plus. You know what I'm saying? I got to divide my time up with work and, being a husband and being a father. And, that's your division. I want to times my money. You know what I'm saying? And wisdom. And
with Marshall, like I'm a universe hippie,
Right.
With Marshall, one of my first encounters with him, he was helping me get into the business. I wasn't really asking. I told him I was working out a deal with Herbie Lovebug. I was about to do a deal with Herbie Lovebug. And I remember being on the phone with him and telling him, and he was like, "No, you're not. You're not doing a deal with Herbie Lovebug." So he played my demo for Dr. Dre. And Dr. Dre reached out to me.
Dude, this is a hell of a story too, bro.
Yeah, that was my entry into the business. And then after me and Marshall fell out, we got back cool with each other, and he was instrumental in helping me get sober.
Wow.
Like these different ways of speaking to me. And he also helped me put into perspective. He helped me not to generalize. We moved to a city called Oak Park outside of Detroit when I was young. And the first thing that happened when I got there the first day was I got called the N-word by a white kid. And I had some very bad experiences with white people early. So if I hadn't met him and got so close to him, I'm not so sure I wouldn't have been one of those people that generalized based off of my own experiences. You know what I mean?
Hell
so he taught me not to do that. And I think that's important too. So just those three elements alone is the reason why my loyalty to him is everlasting.
Hey man, I do have to ask you, and when you were talking, I was like, hell of a story. At one point, when you think about the Dr. Dre, you think about the Eminem, they did offer you a deal, right?
Dr. Dre did, yeah.
Yeah, so Dr. Dre offers you a deal, and there's a certain amount of money, right? And it was like, was it 250 racks? It wasn't really like unlimited. What was the deal?
I think the budget was supposed to be 250 in unlimited Dre beats. I believe it was something like that.
So $250,000 in unlimited Dre beats.
Right before he's about to start his run with the next Chronic.
Yeah. So then you like, oh, okay. So then Tommy Boy comes along and they offer you $1 million. And you know what I'm saying?
And I had met with them already, and they already said no.
You met with who?
Tommy Boy.
Okay.
So before I went out with Dre, I already met with every label on the East Coast. I played all over my demo. They all said no.
Same demo.
So when they found out that I was out there working with Dre and M, they wanted to meet again. So I went out there and played them the same music. Nothing changed.
Not even the order.
Nothing. Nothing changed. And they were like, "Oh man, this is great. This is the greatest thing I ever heard.
the last time.
This is the greatest thing I ever heard." And it was just like, and that's when they kind of put the whole farm up on me at that time.
And it was like $1 million plus, probably.
Yeah.
And and us thinking like you thinking of the M, you like, man, $1 million versus this 250 racks and unlimited Dre beats.
Yeah, it wasn't like a situation where it was like, forget y'all, Dre, man. I'm going over here. It wasn't like that. I spoke to Dre. You know what I'm saying?
But you have called that one of the biggest regrets.
Not a regret.
What do you call it?
I'm not so sure if it was the best decision.
Right.
I have no way of knowing what would have happened had I made a different decision.
Right.
But I don't regret my decision.
If we had the Mr. Destiny where you can look, you'd be like,
I wish I could just see the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't regret it.
But all that, again, is tuition into the school of experience. But one thing, Royce, that you always been, bro, you always been real to your craft. You know what I'm saying? And always been one of the dopest lyricists to me.
Thank you.
Always been one of those that we have to go back. And you know how there's some people that give you 2 verses, then you're like, man, I hope there's a third. You don't get a lot of that from a lot of people that you especially now, that you like, man, okay, damn, there's 2 verses, I want a third verse. And you give us a third verse, whatever it may be, because we're intrigued by the way that you write and what you say. You know what I'm saying? So now the Allegory, which has a hell of a meaning, and there's just some people that wouldn't even title their album the Allegory because they don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
You know why the Allegory?
The album speaks a lot about perspective. I'm intrigued by perspective these days. It's amazing to me that 2 people could be looking at the same thing and seeing 2 totally different things, and each thing being their respective truth because they see it that way. So I was reading the Allegory of the Cave Theory by Plato.
Damn.
Yeah, so imagine being in a cave your whole life, from being born to about 10 years old, and then they pull you out of the cave. And your first time seeing the sun, your eyes are going to hurt.
Yeah.
it's gonna take you a minute for your eyes to adjust to the sun. And seeing large bodies of water, you won't have the verbiage to describe to the people in the cave what you're even seeing. So at that moment is when we realize that even though it's reality that you're looking at, it doesn't become your reality until you're willing to accept it as your reality, because you can very well just go back into the cave, which may be an easier option for you at the time.
Hey, man, and I was going to say, man, like, you ever thought that sometimes either you think too much, or you know how sometimes I'm like, man, the people, not that it's easier, but they're just some like, damn, this dude really thinks. You know what I'm saying? And each rap, this dude really go when some people don't go that hard.
You know what I think, man? I think that there'll never be a time in hip hop where thought-provoking art doesn't matter.
Right, I hear you.
Because there's never been a time in art where thought-provoking art didn't matter.
You ever been to an escape room?
Nah, I heard about those though.
Joe
told me about those.
Yeah,
Escape the room or something like that?
Yeah, I want to go to one with you, man. I went to one with my family, bro. It made me feel real bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I need to walk out this. I need to walk out this cave with you. You know what I'm saying? Royce, I walk out the cave with
Let
you.
him
You
be
go,
your light.
yeah. I'm gonna be like, man, what is this? You'll be like, man, that's water over there. It was, for one, I went with my family. Mm-hmm. So my wife, my kids, my son is 12, he'll be 13 this weekend. My daughter's 11. My kids, I'm Superman to my kids, bro. You know, my daughter said, Dad is going to get us out of here because Dad has a big brain. They give you an hour limit to get out this escape room. If I didn't take the clues and just say, man, get me out of here, we wouldn't even be sitting down today doing this interview because my ass would still be in that escape room.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, you have kids, right?
Of course.
All righty,
That's all I do is make kids.
But go with
you got my favorite pastime.
Hello, you know what I'm saying? Some people collect stamps. How many kids you got, Royce? Is it 5?
Wow.
I heard that. So, and that's another thing when I say mathematics. How do you divide the time between Royce, the artist, being the dad, you know what I'm saying, the provider, just everything, and sharing yourself with the public?
I just follow my instincts. I follow my instincts, and I just put things in order. You know what I mean? I prioritize. I can always tell when my wife is kind of like, okay, getting there.
What are their ages?
My oldest is 21.
Nice.
My oldest is 21, and my youngest is almost 3.
With your 21-year-old, have you guys had? Oh, but you're sober, so you wouldn't even have like the drink moment.
Hell no.
For my oldest,
for your oldest,
only because he's a boy.
Okay.
Only because he's a boy. If my oldest was a girl, we would have many moments where she was like, "I remember you did that. I remember you did that." But my son, I dodged the bullet.
Really?
Just dodged it. He was like, I didn't even notice. I was on my Game Boy. I don't know.
Oh, my Game Boy.
Yeah. So what about with sobriety, bro? How bad did it get for you, Royce, when you say, man, you know what? Like, you gotta, no pun intended, but crash the car before you really realize what's going on?
Yeah, well, see, with me, I literally crashed the car first. I literally crashed the car first. That was my first drinking and driving offense. I crashed the car. Okay, that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened was I went to jail for a year for another drinking and driving offense for a year, right in smack dab in the middle of my
everything's happening.
Professional career. You know what I mean? So, and then the third thing was I reached a point where it felt like another rock bottom for me. And the problem with that was at that moment, it wasn't a financial rock bottom for me.
Right.
At that moment, it was actually a financial high. It was right after lighters came.
Because you were doing well.
I was doing well financially, but I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good at all. So I just got tired of everything, all the mistakes and things being made, and everything being alcohol being the common denominator for everything.
Was it alcohol or was it just?
It was just alcohol. But the way that I did it, I was the best.
And then you got to think, man, we feel like we can do it all. There's a lot of things that's afforded to us. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You go to a club, it's free drinks. You go somewhere, you create this the way I got to create. It's almost like we can justify our so-called addiction.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that a lot of people say that. They say, it's free flowing and that has something to do with it, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it's just like anything that you do, there has to be some level of self-discipline.
What would you tell someone who maybe quite possibly be questioning whether or not they should get sober if they do have a problem? What's some advice that you could give them?
I would probably say if you have to question it, then that's pretty problematic.
Yeah,
pretty problematic, and that's something to look at. And if you are questioning it, that's a great thing because you're letting yourself know that you have the strength to get somewhere close to at least admitting it. That's one of the things that Marshall told me. You know, when I called him and I told him that I was stopping, and he was like, listen, that's number one, that's the realest thing that you've ever said to me.
Was he?
He was already sober.
So yeah.
And he was like, I need for you to understand that where you are right now today, you're at your strongest because you're finally willing to admit that you're powerless over this. And that's a strength. That's not a weakness. Most people would feel like it's a weakness because you're like, oh man, I feel like, but no, it's liberating.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say that to that person, you're taking a step in the right direction.
Nice.
And if you're having those thoughts, then it's probably meant for concern.
Nice.
Is it different making an album that drops in 2020 now when you go with the Allegory? Is it different knowing that we know your body of work, we know the groups, we know that you can spit, you are one of the best spitters and you can spit with the best of them. Is there a pressure when you go in to do your own thing once again?
Nah, it's no pressure. It's no pressure. I mean, it's just with me, I told myself a long time ago that I'm not gonna just do things. You know, like everything that I do, I like it to be purposeful, with a purpose, and you know that's inspiring for me alone. So if I have something to say, and if I have a direction that I'm going that I feel comfortable or confident about, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm not gonna put in the work, the amount of time into it to make sure that it's up to par. And then you know, like from there, the fulfillment comes in completing it. Once I'm finished with it, that's the celebration for me. Once I give it to you, it's yours. Once I give it to you, it's yours. And then nothing after that really matters to me anymore.
Was there always friendly competition too, though? Like
Always.
If there was Slaughterhouse, if there was
Always.
M, if there was Joel, is it like do you ever hear verses be like, damn?
Of course.
Yeah.
I was in a group with Crooked Eye, man.
Yeah, man.
Come on.
One of the and Crooked Eye also, man, is to me one of the best to ever do it. That some people don't know how dope this dude is, like as far as being on your radar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You know how I look at that? That's their problem.
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that just shows that some people are not as tapped in. So when you ask me questions like, do lyrics still matter? Of course they do. Because sometimes I really feel like that we as artists, we have a responsibility to tell the people what they like.
Yeah, man.
It's like, how are you going to tell me what you like? And when half the time you act like you don't know what you like. So I got to tell you, you need to listen to Crooked Eye.
And Crooked Eye is another one of those. When we say the best kept secret, that's another one. That's another one. And there's times, man, where I'm just like, man, I wish everybody could hear what some lyricists say. And then when people do jump on, I'm like, well, man, you probably need to re-release that because I think, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people probably missed it.
Him and Marshall just did you heard of Crook's Corner, right?
Nah.
Crook's Corner, Crook does like a podcast now. And he just interviewed Marshall. I think it's coming out Friday. And they spoke a lot about just styles and stuff like that. He was telling me. He told me they had a really nerdy conversation about rap. That's what I think people need to see.
Hey, man.
I think people need to check that out.
It's got to be crazy to watch y'all create as well. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember even looking at one time M had this book, and I had a chance to see how he writes. You know what I'm saying? And the patterns and everything, bro. It's like it's a total different world when you see somebody that's an artist. You know what I'm saying? And when you see how y'all create, do you have any superstitions or a certain way that you like to record?
I like
or the process.
I prefer to record at night. I'm learning that I prefer to do pretty much everything at night. I'm not really highly functional in the morning. So I like to do things at night, and if I feel like something is being forced, if I feel like I'm pushing too hard,
right,
I let it go.
Did you think sobriety would change your music?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I thought I was prepared to go get a job if I needed to. You know, because
you was ready.
I expected the worst. The worst, and that's another one of the things that this business does to you. It makes you feel like, you know, that you can't make big changes in your life. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times the world kind of like rejects the reinvent.
Yeah, man.
You know?
And now I remember it used to just be, okay, we going for mics in the source. Okay, Double XL probably wrote a little something. Now with this device, everybody's a critic. Everybody can say something crazy. You know what I'm saying? How do you keep that clutter from social media away from you, or you don't look at it at all?
I look at it all the time. It's fun.
Really?
It's fun. I don't. It doesn't bother me. That's one thing I was looking at an Andre 3000 interview with Rick Rubin, and I pulled from it that he was bothered by people being able to critique things in real time. And I found that interesting, considering that, number one, everything that Outkast did was classic.
Right.
And none of it was indicative of what was going on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So why even care?
But how do you find strength in that too? When you say, man, one of the best that could rock with it, he has issues or a sensitivity or feel a certain way.
Well, I just keep it. It's one of those caveats that I just kind of keep on my mind. And I tell myself that I'll probably end up going through that same thing or something close to it. So let me get myself prepared for it now.
Yeah.
I watch Marshall go through it sometimes, and a lot of times it's the guys that did such great things.
Yeah, man.
That it's hard to, what's the next step? That's a difficult position to be in. You know what I mean? Very difficult position. See, Andre 3000 and Eminem went to the mountaintop lyrically. Where do you go? What's the next step? That's tough. That's a tough position to be in.
Is it a
sometimes
scary position?
It's scary.
Yeah.
It is.
But that's what I think with you too, being compared to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, when do you know the Allegory is done? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you got a lot to compare we got a lot to compare you to just with your own bodies of work.
Well, the thing about me is I went a long period of time while I was drinking, just rapping about being good at rapping. My first love.
Can you listen to that?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I can't listen to Death is Certain, my second album. I can't listen to that.
Why?
Because
Was it too dark?
It takes me back to a dark place, yeah. But other than that, just me rapping about rapping, that's my first love. I fell in love with it at the open mics.
Man.
Rapping with other rappers. You know what I mean? Chase Infinite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just that era. You know what I mean? Like my first love. It's my first love. So I can listen to that. I can do that. I can give you that however you want it. That's easy.
Where do you put the Allegory at as far as like passion and love? Like, does that rank at a best?
I put it 1B. 1A is Book of Ryan. That's my most personal album. That's the album that defines me. That one has to be 1A forever. But 1B is Allegory because it's my most informational album. It's my most informational album, and I was the most enlightened doing that album.
When Eminem call you and tell you that he's working on an album, do you write different?
He never calls me and tells me when he's working on the album.
How do you know if you got songs with, music to murder by, do you just pop up and it's like, hey, I didn't want to tell you, but
he's a sneaky bastard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, everything with Marshall is on a need to know basis. He does not. I think he may be superstitious. I don't know. I don't know, but he never tells me. He never says, "Yo, I'm about to start an album."
Right.
He never does that. He just goes in, and I'm like, "You doing another one? What's going on? You just did one." Oh man, I got like 7 songs already.
Hey man, I was with Dre, and Dre was like, "Yeah, we working on this more." And he was like, "You want to hear some?" Like, cause I had never heard through the grapevine, like, "Oh, I heard," and Dre just start pressing play.
That's what he does.
And I was like,
"That's what he does." A lot of times, it's he likes the element of surprise when he's playing it for other MCs.
Right.
He likes that element of surprise. So he
loved the element of surprise when he released too, because it seemed like that shit came from no.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
obviously, you guys can be very honest with each other. Have you ever been gun shy when it comes to critiquing a track that he plays for you?
It depends on what the situation is. If he's playing it for me because I did the beat and he made some changes to it and he wants to know what I think, then I may judge it based off of that. If it's his song and he's playing it for me and he just wants to know what I think, then that's different. Because how I feel and how I would have did it has nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean? So I don't have to share that. But I can let him know if I just dislike it, then I'll tell him that. That I've never had that situation with him. So.
But could you tell someone that their child is ugly? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the music, like,
absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. I just don't.
What about the times when M wasn't feeling what he was putting out? When he looked
like
in the
revival,
rearview mirror,
like the revival. The revival I didn't hear before it came. Actually, he played me a few of the songs, and I remember telling him, I was like, I think you may have a little bit too many of those big over the top singing choruses. I was like, I don't think you need so many of those. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was pretty much it. But I'm always so impressed by what he can do technically, lyrically, that I kind of I tune into that so much that I'm kind of like trying to decipher
Right,
while I'm
right.
listening
Because
yeah,
it's different.
yeah.
It's crazy that you could say revival. You know what I'm saying? And somebody could say that the so-called worst project or whatever, it could be somebody else's best project. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, but it's at the end of the day, man, it's just art. You know, it's just art, and it's okay. We go in there like marksmen.
Yeah.
You know, we go in there, we shoot at the target. Boom, boom, boom. It just so happens with him, maybe 10, 12 years straight, it was the dead eye center of the target. So if he goes a little left, boom.
Right.
That's okay. No problem. Just go do another one.
But do we allow somebody not to hit the center now?
They
don't allow.
Yeah, they don't allow him because when you do it so many ways, you know, like the people just have like a certain way that they prefer for you to do it.
You never get frustrated with the business. Like some people, Royce, they really want the attention. You know, and we're talking about what 20 year span. Did you ever get frustrated?
Frustrated. I'm sure I had times of frustration, and it usually comes from just lack of information. You know what I mean? Like when you don't really understand exactly how to ascend to the next level or whatever the next step is, you don't know what the next step is to take. There's a certain level of frustration there because then you begin to just do things. You know what I mean?
You start chasing or just.
And it's never good in this business to just do things. Like it's always better to have a plan. It's always better to have some type of purpose and know exactly what it is you want to do to be able to take the proper steps. Because like we were saying earlier, that trial and error, everybody don't survive that. You
recently, to my attention, I saw that you were speaking more on mental health. At one point, we're not going to talk about it. You know, we're strong hip hop. We're black men. Whatever in front of the reason why we didn't seek any mental wellness or any mental health. Where are you at now, as far as like speaking upon, you know, mental wellness and mental health?
I think we all should see a therapist, even the ones of us who don't have addiction issues. It's just learning self. Knowledge of self could never be a bad thing.
What brought you to knowing that therapy was okay?
Well, it started with the addiction. You know, actually, introduced me to my therapist because he's his therapist.
Wow.
So I met him, and we started out talking about addiction, and then that led into.
Did you know you were in so-called therapy?
Yeah,
because you know we got a way that we thought.
Yeah.
Therapy. Well, we thought we were laying on the couch,
and that's what keeps us. That's what keeps us from going.
Right.
Because we have this picture in our mind of what we think it is, and it's not that. So when I realized it wasn't that, and then you know we went from talking about addiction to talking about things in my childhood. You know, one thing led to another. I'm in tears.
Yeah.
And these are things that I didn't know affected me like this. So once I'm able to identify with these things, now I know what to fix. I was able to curve anxiety issues and all types of things, and it makes you better. And in turn, it makes the music better. It makes everything better. Like, and that's why I tell the younger artists, instead of paying attention to going on and doing the things that they tell you that you should be doing, put that energy into learning you. Make a better you. You're going to make better music. You're going to do everything better. Everything's going to be better. Better husband, better father, better whatever. You know what I mean? Because you're learning what to improve.
And you arrive at the time you arrive. But I know in your head, just in life, you're like, damn, I wish I would have had this such and such ago. But everything comes at a certain time and at a certain reason. And sometimes we're not accepting what it is.
You know what I do when I think like that? It lets me know. I know that I can't go back and apply this to myself. So I apply it to my son. I apply it to the next generation.
Yeah.
Because what can be better than watching them not have to make the same mistakes?
And when you say applying it to your son, applying it to the next generation, literally hours before you came in, Pop Smoke was murdered.
Yeah.
And there's a different value on life when we start to get a little so-called older, a little, you know what I'm saying? Like, where do you see, or if youngins are listening now, what advice do you give to them that not, I'm going to save your life, but that you probably wish that you would have heard, or being that you have traveled down the road, what would you say to those as far as value in life.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming into the business, you know, like if you don't value someone else's life, how could you expect for someone to value yours?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to look at other artists and other people, especially people that look like you, like a brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got to treat it like a brotherhood. We got to treat it like we taking care of each other. And we have to start thinking of how powerful we are as a collective, as opposed to individuals, because we're not as competitive. Remember, we talked about competition, friendly competition. It's a friendly competition, but we're not against each other.
Right.
We're a brotherhood. We're a collective. We push each other. We inspire each other, but we're not against each other, because labels come together all the time and create standards with each other. 360 deal. I can just name stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, this is standard. And then we go, okay, we accept that. You know, but imagine if we came together as artists and as contemporaries and said, okay, we need health insurance.
Right.
We need life insurance. We need psychiatrists, therapists.
Right.
We need all of this stuff at the label. That's standard in every deal now. And it'll be standard in every deal.
Yeah, but as long as they see that people don't come together like that, and and it falls under the whole divide and conquer. It sounds so cliche, but it's easy.
It's like reparations.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying? Good luck. You know what I'm saying? Good luck on that, man. And also, just on another note, just Kobe, man, the Mamba mentality. You know what I'm saying? I saw this one thing where Royce, they said we don't value, you know, just getting home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just making it home. And that's another thing where you start to say, man, if there's work to do, work smarter, work harder, there's character. And I learned a lot of that from watching Kobe. And once Kobe passed too, bro, where I was just like, okay, I still got work to do. I still got work to do. I got to be, you know, I was already, you know, what I felt was a good dad. You know what I'm saying? More moments, more building, taking care of people, smiling at people. What that felt like when Kobe passed, bro, it was a different feeling. And I even told my kids, I said, remember what this feel like. Not to be sad, but remember how you embraced people and what that felt like, man. And I think that's one of the things that from such a horrible experience that I think I'll take with me and kind of moving on. When we lost Nip, it was the same. The marathon continues. And now, you know, it's almost like we're doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on soldiers.
We got to think about too, like what we put into the universe is super important. You know what I mean? A lot of times I see, like on Instagram and just in life, people doing things and they say, yo, this is just to inspire, you know, like, and I just learned it. Let me make sure that what I'm doing is inspiring and not causing a certain kind of jealousy that can be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like I distinctly remember doing the photo shoot for the album and somebody suggested, why don't you take one in front of the car? And I'm like, for what? The album's not about a car.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to do that because I don't want to. One time I was getting on a jet with Puff and we were doing like a video and I was like, yeah, something. And Puff was like, nah, I don't do the flashing.
Right.
I don't do the flashing on my people. Nah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. If we're going to inspire, let's inspire for real.
And I think that's what we're seeing a lot again, Royce, with this device. Like even with Pop Smoke, early on, people were like, oh, there was a party at the house. There was some money that was being shown. That was you know, and you should be able to celebrate how you celebrate. But also there's just some people that's either they're not invited to the party or they ain't celebrating with you, or you know what I'm saying? People ain't working as hard and they
feel inferior, you know, and coming from that environment, we're a lot more comfortable in the fire. You know, we're a lot more comfortable in the fire. Our go-to is to do something negative. You know what I mean? Because it's like a thing that we're used to doing. It's a reflex. You know? So and it's a lot harder to just talk things out, find solutions. You know, all of these things come in therapy. You know, like we don't come from environments where communication is like the first order of business. We don't really know how to do that. You know, like I grew up suppressing feelings.
Right.
You know, just not dealing with emotion at all, just kind of like setting traumatic experiences just to the side. And I thought that was my way of dealing with them.
Yeah.
And they come back in different ways.
And we thought we can bottle it up too.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying? Like everything that we did, we can handle it.
I bottled mine up all right.
Yeah, hell yeah, you did. You know what I'm saying? Hell, how long have you been sober?
Almost 8 years.
I heard that, bro.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Man, did you ever think that when you were in the so-called pit, did you ever see yourself getting out of that where not even one day at a time. Like, man, you look up and it's 8 years.
You know, it's
hard
crazy.
8 years.
You know, it's
not
crazy.
look up.
I remember a couple times thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna definitely have to figure this out. This is not. I know it's not great. I know I've had some fun times, but nah. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get out of this. I'm not gonna be able to do this for a long period of time. I knew it.
How do you not enjoy? And when you look back, I understand. But how do you not enjoy Eminem, Slaughterhouse, D12, Pills, bitches, you know, but women, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to think, like, we look now and there's, you know, if it's, you know, Percocets, if it's Xans, whatever, you know, people trip off of what people are doing now. But it was some hardcore stuff then.
Oh, we're in no position to judge.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we tell people, but you'll get some of the young ones that'll say, well, we got it from you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is there an accountability? Because you're doing it to yourself.
Of course,
you know what I'm saying?
It's an accountability on both sides. On both sides. Us as OGs and, you know, the youngers are going to be held to the same standard.
Right.
We have an obligation. We have an obligation to share information and to be concerned and care and take steps to let it be known.
Did you ever OD or anything close to like?
Nah, because it's always just been liquor for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess the liquor equivalent to ODing would be blacking out.
Yeah, did you
Or
black?
alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever had alcohol. I've never been treated for alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but
yeah.
Hold on. Like,
Yeah, but blacking out, when I had that first car accident, that's what happened. It was like a blackout.
Damn.
Yeah.
man, it's
And my head hit the windshield. It didn't go through, but it got pushed. The windshield was smashed and pushed out, and like little pieces of thread from my hat were in the cracks in the windshield.
Enough.
Yeah,
You know,
and I woke up to a flashlight in my face, like, "Hey, you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And I remember him saying, "You want to go to the hospital?" I was like, "Nah, I don't want to go to the hospital."
Yeah, see, there it is. Like,
And
no.
he asked me to get out the car, and he said, "I want you to say your ABCs." And I remember singing them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And he was just standing there looking at me. He let me finish all the way to Z.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all right. If you can
So it
put
was
your
pretty
hands
safe
behind
to
your
say
back,
that I
sir.
was drunk. Yeah.
If you can put your, but it's crazy, man, because was that the turnaround? Or because with me, even with my weight, like I was over 500 pounds, right? And I enjoyed eating. I could, if I needed a car, I could afford a bigger car. If I needed a suit, I can go to a tailor. If I need to fly, like I could afford being 500 pounds. I could accommodate that. You know what I'm saying? But then I got to a point where you start to think, okay, well, you know what? You really killing yourself. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in a position where either you're drinking and you can afford it, like that tuition into the school of experience that we're paying is extremely mighty. And when you get that kind of case, that's also where with me, I knew that I was doing crazy stuff, but I didn't have the light switch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe your accident wasn't the light switch. It was like mine was more of a dimmer. You know, and then I looked up and I was like, oh, okay, it's bright in here. I know you don't go from a car crash and go straight to AA. Yeah.
No,
so you the dimmer as well.
That was nope. That was the dimmer for my wife. She started tripping about everything after that.
Right.
For me, it was the jump off. It was the beginning of everything. So it didn't
man.
I didn't even that was
It got worse?
That was 2004.
Oh,
That was the
wow.
first. That was like the first thing.
Oh, wow. Man, do you ever trip off, and excuse me for asking that, you still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's ordained by God for me to be here, for me to be sitting here.
When we see like, like the Juice WRLDs or just some of the people where you're like, damn, man, like I was playing with death.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I was playing with death. And you do make it through it, and I think that's why with Allegory and sitting down and having meetings and talking about mental health and sobriety, like this is the work now.
It's a greater purpose. It's
Yeah.
like, that's why I don't trip about like sales and I don't go crazy over numbers and stuff. Like none of these things mean anything to me. Like I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
I'm not supposed to be here. So I don't feel like that it's possible for somebody to come remove me God hasn't even removed me.
I heard that.
And I made it very easy for it to be that way. So why would I be worried about being blackballed or being, you know what I mean? Like,
I heard that.
I feel like my purpose now is just to inform.
You don't even trip off of some of the things that other people trip off of.
No.
It's crazy what people think is a problem.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
For real,
like, you think that's
for
a
real.
problem? Like, come on, man. So what's 2020 like for Royce the 5'9"?
I try to keep it as boring as possible.
I heard that.
I try to keep it as boring as possible. I do work more than anything. I realize that that's
Hell
what my
yeah.
vice is. That's what my vice is. I like to work all the time. I like to practice. I love to practice. It's fun.
Practice. No, just
Yeah.
practice.
It's fun. Like, that's where all the real work is done. Just practicing with no kind of repercussion to anything in your mind. Nothing bad can happen behind this because I'm just practicing. I don't even have to save this. You have to save this beat.
It's
Practice.
crazy how much you probably forgot. You know what I'm saying? Or just threw away that we were like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Oh, this
Stuff
dude.
just kind of sitting around.
Hell yeah. Or you know what I'm saying? Just in your head or what, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, continue to create and motivate too, man. It was
you,
a pleasure
brother.
having you in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege.
Such a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Man,
Love and respect. Thank you.
Allegory, man, you put your work in, and y'all coming with some long ass albums now, bro.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to be about 17, not including the skits. I'm like, y'all want people to listen.
It's about an hour.
Yeah.
About an hour.
Yeah.
Hour, 4 minutes.
If we can't get an hour of therapy, then what the hell? You know what I'm saying?
It's okay.
But no, I appreciate you, bro. Send me
Thank
one
you,
of them
man.
jackets, man.
You can have this one, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
I don't know if I can get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lost weight, but I don't know. Hey, Royce, are you really 5'9"?
I hope so.
It seemed like you're a little
hope so.
taller than.
I hope so.
You wouldn't change your name to like Royce to 5'10" if
I'm sitting in a very elevated stool right now.
I don't know. I just didn't. So I would be probably like big to 6'1".
Yeah.
You would be Natalia the what?
The 5'4.5".
Let me
had to
tell
put
you
that half
something.
on
Man. If I stood up right now, I would be shorter than this, and I'm sitting.
Nah,
Nah.
you stop that. Yeah, nah. Because we know who usually sit in the chair, and that's Louis, and he's way shorter than you are. Royce the 5'9" in the neighborhood, big boys neighborhood.
Thank you.